I recently got a new puppy named Alice. He is a 10-week-old Blue Merrill Australian Shepherd. I have had him and adopted him at 8 weeks old. Within the first few days of having this puppy, I was able to teach him many new tricks and commands that he will use throughout his life. Although, just like many other dog trainers, we are not perfect, and we do not have everything down within one day. It takes time, and it possibly takes many years, with a lot of practice and consistency. Through this speech, I hope to show you some of my techniques and guidelines that may help you train your future or current puppy. First off, we're going to need to talk about equipment. Since it's a puppy, you're only going to need the very basics, but if you want to go above and beyond, you can always get more. First off, you're going to need some high-value treats. This can be anything from store-bought items, store-bought treats, or things like boiled chicken, hot dogs, certain fruits and vegetables, anything that your dog prefers the most. This can also be certain fruits and vegetables. I go with the Pupford freeze-dried treats, and it's also good to have a variety, such as this is freeze-dried chicken. You can also have sweet potatoes, beef, things of that nature. The next thing would be, of course, having a leash. Although this is not required for specific training, it is good to have to help with control and having the proper environment and making it as efficient as possible and the puppy focused on you. This would be an example of a leash. Any length is fine. The last thing would be a harness, a collar, of course. This helps to hook on the leash and keep the puppy used to having that on, because that's what we'll be wearing in the future. The training method that I use with my puppy is called positive reinforcement. Prior to positive reinforcement, many people would often use things such as negative reinforcement or punishment towards the dog. This example would be yelling at the dog, hitting the dog. There's many people that probably know their parents, maybe rubbing the dog's nose or face in the pee or poop if they were in the house, or throwing them in the kennel if they were bad. And all these lead to a bad relationship with you and your dog, and for future training experiences, because they will be afraid of you. Today, it has been proven that positive reinforcement is better and builds a stronger bond between you and your puppy, and also helps them learn quicker and faster. Positive reinforcement is when you give your subject, animal, human, anything like that, a reward for doing something that you want them to do, a desired action. In return, they will associate this action with something that is good, or the reward treat, and want to do it more often to get that reward. So why and when would you want to start training or show your dog these tricks or commands? Many people think that you start when it's 2 years old, 3 years old, when it's an adult dog, and they're all grown up. But in fact, this is a misconception. As soon as the dog gets into your house, you can begin training it. And puppies are very efficient, smart animals, and they will learn these tricks and commands very quickly, and it will help maintain them in the early stages of life and throughout. It is also important to be very consistent. Doing this on a daily basis gets their minds working and mentally stronger. It also helps to do it in a variety of environments. Let's say if you only worked inside the house, if you went out to a busy highway or things of that nature, like a park, then they wouldn't listen because they're not used to it. They're so distracted by the other things going on. This allows them by doing these specific trainings and being positive reinforcement, allows them to be prepared for any sort of things that come in their way, in their path with you and your puppy. If there's a dangerous situation, they will know how to respond and act in those situations. So how would you do this? First off, you're going to want to start to create a reward command. For example, mine is yes. So how you do this is when they do something good or that you like, you will say your command, which is for me, yes. Whenever you say yes, you will instantly follow it with a treat or reward, and then they will associate that with something that is good. With this, since they start associating that with good things, you can start working into tricks and commands. So you go step by step, very slowly with your puppy, working on those specific tricks that you want to teach them. For example, I taught my puppy the command, which is touch, or basically come when called. How I did this was, he didn't know what that was, of course. I put my hand up to his nose, and anytime he would touch my hand, I never said anything, but anytime he would touch my hand, I would say yes and instantly give him a treat. It didn't matter if he was sniffing it or touched it for half a second. He would then associate touching my hand with getting a treat. And then slowly I would step farther and farther back, and he would come and touch. Once he associated this over and over, I then used the word touch, and now anytime he hears it, he comes and touches my hand when I put it down or say touch. You can use this template for any trick. For sit, you can use a lure with your treat, and you put it up to their nose and go up, and once they sit down, you say yes and give them a treat. And they'll associate sitting with getting a treat. So you can continue to work on that until they fully get it. Same with, let's say, lay down. Once they're in the sit, you can then go all the way to the ground and wait until they lay down. Once they lay down, you say yes and give them a treat. And they will begin to associate this with a treat. And it will work very efficiently. The main things that you want to teach, or that are most important, which within the first 30 or so days, would be sit, lay down, look at me, which maintains eye contact, leave it, so leaving things like leaves on the ground, dirt, rocks, come or touch, so come when called, that is very important, stay when you ask them to stay, and then working on kennel and potty training, with also working just with behavioral problems. I have a video of some training I did, and I'll show that to you right now. Alice, touch, sit, look at me, good. Are there any questions? No? Okay. Thank you so much. And here's the audio.